So now I'm going to show you the power of the Combinator. I've taken my previous instrument off again, and all I've got at the moment, I've just got I've looped the beat that was already there, and that's a Logic instrument, yeah. That's an Ultra Beat instrument. That's just the default instrument. That's just so we got something to play underneath, yeah. Now I'm going to go back just to recap, and I'm going to make a new device. X-ray. I'm going to make a Combinator. I'm going to start with the Combinator. What's the second thing that it would do?
Get a line mixer.
Yep. So I'm going to create a line mixer, so I can then all the different things which I actually put in there. By the way, I'm going to do a 6-2. Yeah. You have also got a 14-track line mixer, but I'm not going to put 14 instruments on this. I'm only going to do about 3. So I only really care. I'm going to use that small line mixer because it's more compact. Then I'm going to choose. Let's choose a Subtractor. So I'll start by doing a Subtractor. And with my Subtractor, what I'll do also is I'll create a new instrument again. I'm going to call my Combinator another word. Anyone got any suggestions? Okay, so I've got, this is Mad Ting. So the sound, this sound is actually called Mad Ting. And I'm going to create a track for that. So, external MIDI as normal, create. And I should find that down here I have got a Mad Ting. So, let's basically, this is my default Subtractor sound. I'm gonna now make some kind of bass line. I'll play it around for a second, and I'll right. So I'll play around with it. So I'm gonna make a bass line and then just stick with it, yeah, and then mess with the sound. So I'll just do something. Okay. I messed that up actually. I did it. I actually hit the first note wrongly, so I'll do that again. So, right, and also just to show you again the benefits of rewire, that was what I did wrong. I hit the wrong note there. I actually, I'm gonna quantize, so I'm gonna go for a 16th. Here we go. I've lost my sound, which is unusual. Yeah, good question. This could be it. It shouldn't need to. Let's actually check a couple of things. Oh, do you know what? Do you know, I've realised what it is. The reason is because I actually, when I created my Subtractor, I clicked too low. You see that? I clicked down here. I clicked in the wrong place. I didn't create it within the Combinator. Yeah. So actually, this video, when you look back on it, you'll notice that it's got a big mistake in it, and actually, it's something where.
That was intentional.
Yeah. I just did it to make sure that people knew what was going on. So what I'll actually do now. So this Subtractor, I don't really like this sound, so I'm going to go for some kind of. Let's check the bass in. I want like a long. I'm going to try and get quite a toothy sound, but. I want the okay, I'll do that one. What I'm going to do also, while I'm here, I'm going to do a couple little adjustments, because for me at the moment that bass line has got a bit too much of a release on it. So as we were talking about the other day and doing things like changing the envelope slightly, I'm going to take a bit of that off. Okay, So I've messed with that a little bit. This is cool. Now what I'm going to do is I'm also going to make sure this is in here because there's a few things that I messed up about this at the moment. So I can control my level through the line mixer. Right, now I'm going to put a second instrument in there because I want to beef up this sound a bit. So I'm going to put on a maelstrom, yeah? So I've created now a maelstrom within there. Now you should hear straight away, you get the same thing, you'll get the combination of the two sounds, yeah? So I'm going to find, I want a more synthy, leady type sound, yeah?
Is it definitely above the thing this time?
So is it, yeah, because you heard it already, right? Yeah? So I'm going to play it, now I'll have a look through here. That's pretty cool. I actually got that by mistake, but so again, I'll sort of like I'll use that. Maybe I mess with this a bit. I quite like it already, actually. Right now, again, I can mix between these two sounds. Yeah. Now also, I'll tell you what, why not? I'll do 3. Because if the good thing about this is already, it's a bit like you can't do this on Logic, right? You can't do it as simply as this. But now I'm gonna take a third sound because I just want to make something very, very fat. Let's go for I'll go for Thor as well. So let's put a Thor in there as well. That should go into the third slot. If you want also with the line mixer, for a second you can just solo the instrument itself, yeah? So I'll do that for a second. I'll actually go through Thor, try and find some other good stuff. Maybe, Gangster Lead. Where's that? Was that in the previous one? Yeah, okay. Let's see what it sounds like with everything else. Yeah. That's without it. That's with it. Take it down in level, you think? Okay. Yes, that's a bit better. Cool. Okay. Now, great. This is partly the power of the Combinator, yeah? The fact you can combine sounds and mix them quite easily and do stuff like this. But in saying that, if you really wanted, you could do it in Logic by just copying the MIDI data 3 times and putting it into a bus and doing stuff like that. So you could do it in a bit more of a clumsy way. Now, this is the power of the Combinator. You might have wondered why it's got knobs and rotaries, yeah? Now, this is what I'm gonna kind of like show, because say you want to manipulate a sound, but give the sound cohesion as it manipulates. Now, that might sound a bit weird at the moment, but if you bear with me, I'll sort of show you what I mean. Now, I'll solo the Subtractor first, right? If I want to create something within it, which creatively will mess with the sound a bit, like this filter, I want to get something that's going to really evolve the sound and make it sound weird. Like that. If I mess, like this part here, this frequency filter, right? If I mess with resonance a bit, then I can actually create some activity within that sound, which is going to make it sound interesting and a bit different. Now, this is filter 2 frequency, right? Now, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go up to here. I'm going to do this with each sound. Now, on the Combinator, I can show this and go show programmer, right? Now, all this stuff appears that we've never seen before, but every time I created a device for it, it creates a programmer within this Combinator device. Now, you'll be able to go back and copy this and see what it is. Now, Subtractor 2, right? If I go here, now this gives me a source and a target. Now, I'm just going to do this so you actually see what it is, yeah? Source, rotary 1. I'm going to choose rotary 1 because this is what that is. You literally just have a button, a fader. At the moment, it doesn't do anything. It's just a fader, and it's just in the middle position, right? Now, if I go here and I set it a target, I can set a target of anything which is here. Now, wait, I'll just go for a minute. And again, I am selected currently the Subtractor 2, yeah? If I set it a target and I find filter 2, sorry, I keep zooming in so you can't see it properly, but I'll try this again. If I set a target to filter, and I go filter 2 frequency, right? Now, if you watch this at the same time, you see this filter frequency here, okay? Now, if I move rotary 1, like this, can you see filter 2 frequency moves, yeah? Yep. Now, basically, this is kind of all it does. Now, if I so now, by moving rotary 1, that's what it's doing, yeah? It's actually, I've linked rotary 1 to a particular thing, which I know changes the sound in an interesting way, yeah? So, now, as you might guess, now what I'm going to do next is, that's, for me, for the time being, I'm quite happy with that for the Subtractor. I'm going to get off the Subtractor, I'm going to go to the Maelstrom for a minute. Also, if you really want, you can do this a lot. You can minimize the instruments, it kind of helps. So I'm going to do that. Now, if I go back to this sound is pretty sweet. Another thing which is definitely, if I mess with it a bit, that's kind of interesting, but not that interesting. That's quite interesting in that area. So around about the bottom half of this filter frequency, again, this is filter A, right? It's on a low pass filter. Also, if you want, while you're doing this, mess about with different, try the different filters. You might find some of the comb filters are quite interesting. Quite like that. Right. That one's best. I like that one best. So I'm gonna basically use that. Now, again, filter A, filter frequency A. Now I'm gonna go back up and I'm gonna actually change this now because this is a Maelstrom, right? Same thing, rotary 1, yeah? I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna find filter A, and I'm gonna go filter A frequency. Filter A frequency. Just to check, I'm gonna move the rotary, and can you see that again, if you look at this bit here, it's moving, right? So it's moving this rotary around. Now, if I, just as a test, if I now put the Subtractor in as well, if I was to watch them both at the same time, if it's possible, you see that this is moving, right? At the same time as this moving, right? Now, this, the final stage of this, do you get the idea what it's doing, yeah? Because this shows you about how you can really, with one control, manipulate multiple sounds, and there's no limit, by the way, in the Combinator. If you want to put together 25, 30, 100 instruments and have them all being manipulated by the filters at the same time, that's what you can do. And this is what I mean about the power of this, and the things that you can't do in Reason to affect sound, Logic to affect sounds in the same way. This is where the kind of the power lies of the Combinator. And also, why I say this, if you think about like Skrillex, you know when he has those huge sounds, all these crazy sounds, and no one knows how he really does it. Basically, but they're all being controlled by one filter. They're making the sounds. They have a very unified sound, all the wah 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 wah. It's all very unified. But I'm telling you now, it's probably stringed together like 25 instruments. Final thing, I might show you two final things. This is the cleverest, not the cleverest bit, but very clever. The filter frequency, right? At the moment, as we know with MIDI values, minimum, lowest MIDI value is 0, right? Highest MIDI value is 127. Now, what happens at the moment is, if I take, for example, filter 2, when I move rotary 1, if I look back at Subtractor, you will see that this rotary moves that 100%. If I go down to 0, the lowest frequency is 0, right? If I go up to the maximum, then it goes to the maximum, right? You see that? Mm-hmm. See what I mean, yeah? Now, when I played this sound before, I actually found I was actually the most effective part of the sound is only in the middle range of the filter, right? And you have to do that by playing around. If I play around with it again, if I'm right down there, it's not even doing anything, you can't hear anything. If it's maximum, it's not that different to being down here. If I have a look, interesting things start to happen at around about between 50, and I would say between about 50 and 75 is where interesting stuff actually happens. So what I do is, I actually go here, and I go minimum 50, maximum 75, and then however much I move this filter, I'm moving this maximum up and down, but can you see it's constraining the range of the movement of this? You do it by feel, because actually I'm feeling like it needs a bit more actually, so I'm going to put the minimum and maximum up and down a little bit, and I'll try it again. Yeah, that feels better. Right, now I'm just going to do the same thing to make sure that my Maelstrom sound is actually in a usable range. Like this one, for example, I don't like it as much as I used to now. I'd say beyond about 45. So I'm gonna constrain this one to between 0 and 45 because I actually think this one is better in that range. So now I've done this, I think you'll start to find that the sound, the overall sound now will get more interesting and be more under control. Okay, so you can see that here. That I've started to make a sound that's more cohesive and it's creating interesting things happening within that particular range of both instruments. Anyway, this is the power of the Combinator. I will stop there. The only final thing I was going to show was that you can also do this with effects units. The reason why I wanted to push you towards effects units is because one of the strongest things I think in Reason is the distortion units. If you're going to create some crazy, nasty sounds, the actual scream distortion unit is very, very. There's the scream distortion unit and other things. You can do the same thing with effects units as well as with instruments. You can do it with filters and you can do it with all sorts of with distortion, with compression, everything. You can control everything from one fader. So you can get all your sounds sounding crazy fat and cohesive with just one fader moving around. That is the Combinator. That's the power of the Combinator basically.